I'm a wildlife photographer and I'm going to show you how I turned this into this. Lots of people on my social media have been asking how I edited this photo, so here's the full walkthrough on how I achieved this shot. Obviously this editing style won't be for everyone, but I think when it's used on the right photos it can really help show some more emotion. Okay, right, so I'm on Lightroom right now. I'm using the Creative Cloud version just because I prefer it, but you can achieve the same result on Lightroom Classic. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the cropping over here, and I'm going to change my aspect ratio to 4:5 just so I can use this photo on my social media. And I'm just going to do quite a tight crop on this because that's kind of the portrait style that I want to go for. So maybe a bit tighter. Let's have a look at that. That should be good. The first thing that I want to do here is I'm going to go down here onto the detail section, and I'm just going to denoise my photo just to clear up some of that grain. Okay, right, so as you can see now, this is looking a lot smoother than it did before. So if we look at the before, you can see that there's a lot more grain and it just doesn't look as nice as this much smoother look. So now what I'm going to do is, because the top of this magpie is very dark and very shadowy and you can't really see a lot of detail, so I'm going to go over to the right and I'm going to use my mask, and I'm going to add a new mask, and it's going to be the object mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this black section at the top of the magpie. It only has to be rough. And let's see if that works. Okay, right, so now you can see that it's selected that top bit, and I'm just going to up the exposure maybe by about 0.8, and as you can see we've already got now a lot more detail. Okay, right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just zoom into the eye, see if we can get a bit more of a reflection here. So I've created a new mask and I've used the brush this time, so I'm just going to do a small outline here. I'm just going to enhance that light that's going into the eye a bit, just so when we're zoomed out it looks a bit nicer and looks like the eye is catching that light. So there isn't much more that we need to actually do inside of Lightroom right now. I am just going to make this section of the face a bit brighter. So I'm just using a brush tool here, and where I want the light to be hitting, I'm just going to enhance that by using a brush mask and then going to exposure and just upping that to about 0.8. That should be good. So this is all we need to be doing for now in Lightroom. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to right click on my image, edit in Photoshop, and we're now going to move over to Photoshop. Okay, right, so we're now in Photoshop, and the first thing we're going to want to make sure we have is this layers tab right here. So if you don't have it on your screen, you're going to go up to window at the top here, and then you're just going to press layers, or you can press F7, that also does the same thing, and then this should appear here. Right now our image will be the background layer, so we're going to press Ctrl J on our keyboard and that should duplicate that. So now we're going to have two of the same layers, but one's going to be called layer 1. So make sure you have that one selected, and then what we're going to do here is on the left side we're going to see the fourth option down is the object selection tool. Okay, right, so now all we're going to do is we're going to hover over our subject and it should have a pink outline. We're going to press on that, and there we go, it selected the bird, but we also want the perch. So if I click on that, then that has also done that, but we can see here that we've got some bits that haven't fully been selected. So what I'm going to do here is the third option down, if I click and hold on that, and then we can go into the selection brush tool, and then my brush is very big at the moment, but if I change that down to maybe 50 pixels or so and make sure it is on the add bit, then what we can do is we can just draw and colour in all of those bits that didn't get selected. Okay, right, so now that we've done that, we're going to duplicate this layer once again. So Ctrl J on the keyboard, we should now have 3 layers all the same, except this new layer shouldn't have the background. So now if we right click on this little icon and we press select pixels, we should see the outline come back up. And now we're just going to hide this layer by pressing the I here. And we're going to come back to that later. So now we're going to go back down to layer 1. And now we're going to go up to the top where it says select. And then we're going to go to modify, then expand. And we're going to make sure we expand by 20 pixels and then press OK. You should see here that it's made the outline 20 pixels bigger. Depending on how much you cropped your image, it might look like you've made it quite a bit bigger, but it will be 20 pixels. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to go up to edit and you're going to go to fill. And you're going to make sure where it says contents, you want this to be content aware. And then all of this should be just the default. And then press OK. You'll see here that your bird completely disappears, which is what we actually want. And then you're going to press Ctrl and D on the keyboard and that gets rid of your selection. Then go over to layer 1, right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to reveal the layer that we hid earlier, which is layer 2. So press the box where the eye was and that should make it come back like that. Now if we go back to layer 1 and we go to image, adjustments and then exposure, we should have this pop up, and if we put the exposure all the way down to -20, you should just have your subject and the perch left and the background will be completely black. Then hit OK, and this is all we're going to actually do inside of Photoshop. So now if we shut this down, make sure you save it. And now this is the result that we currently have in Lightroom, but we are not finished yet. If we look at what it looked like before we went into Photoshop, it looked like this. And we can see that we've just completely darkened the background. You can leave it like this, however, I think the subject just sticks out way too much and I think we need to fade it into the background a bit. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to zoom out a bit. So I'm going to just hold down and drag out. And then basically I'm going to go over to my mask and I'm going to make a radial gradient. So I want to fade out first the bottom of the perch here. So I'm going to click and drag and I'm going to make a shape a bit wider than that, about there. And then I'm going to right click up here and I'm going to invert the gradient. And then I'm just going to angle this slightly better where the red is where the perch will be and not too much on my actual subject. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down to the exposure. I'm just going to put that all the way down. So you can leave it like this, but I want to make it go to complete darkness. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to my mask and I'm just going to duplicate this by right clicking and then duplicate. And you can see that it's made it darker because we're just stacking these masks on top of each other. And then I'm just going to keep doing that 2 or 3 more times until I like what it looks like. So I'm going to do it maybe once more. So as you can see here, now it's fading pretty much completely into darkness. I'm going to actually do it once more. There we go. So if we look at the before, it looks like this, and then the after looks way better as it kind of fades the subject into the background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to complete this for the rest of the bird because it's got quite a harsh outline all the way around it. So I'm going to go to my mask, I'm going to create a new mask and I'm going to use the brush tool. So I'm going to use the scroll wheel to change the size of this brush, and this is roughly good. I'm just going to go around the outside like this until I get up to there, and then I'm just going to bring down the exposure to about -3, and as you can see we've just faded it nicely into the background like we did for the perch. As you get to the top of the head, we're going to want to be a bit more careful to not colour in the eye with the brush. So we're going to go back to the mask, make a new mask with the brush again. We're just going to make it a bit of a smaller one, just so we can be a bit more careful. So about -3.4 I've done there, and as you can see it's looking a lot better now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue doing that for the rest of the bird. Okay, right, so now we're onto this white bit of the bird. So what I'm going to do differently here is I'm going to go to my mask and I'm going to use a radial gradient for this bit. I'm going to make a very stretched circle here and rotate it and just place it roughly here. And I'm not going to put down the exposure as much as the rest of the bird that's black, just about -2. There we go. What I'm going to do now that I've done all of these masks is I'm just going to go to the bits that I want to be slightly brighter, like I did at the beginning of the video, and just use the brush and just mark them out and then just up the exposure a tiny bit. So I'm going to do 0.36. That's just slightly nicer. Now I'm going to go to this blue bit that I see on the magpie and I'm just going to enhance that a tiny bit, enhance the colours. So I'm going to use the object selection. Because it's quite contrasting on the bird, it should pick up this as a different object. Alright, yep, so there we go. And I'm just going to up the exposure on this a tiny bit. About 0.44, and I'm just going to up the saturation to about 19. There we go. So, and now also another bit of colour that we've kind of faded out, but the green tail, I'm just going to create a new mask and a brush, and I'm just going to mask out a tiny bit and up the exposure just so we can see a bit of that green. Put that to about 1.12 and also up the saturation to about 30. And there we go, that is pretty much completely finished. One more thing that I'm going to do is, because I can see where we first went around the outline, I think this still sticks out a bit too much, so I'm just going to use a radial gradient on the masks. And I'm going to make another stretched circle. And I'm just going to overlay it like this. And then decrease the exposure by about 0.8. And that looks much nicer. I'm also going to go around the outline of the perch a tiny bit. Just lower the exposure. And on the other side as well. As you can see, this edit is really not that hard to do, and anyone can do it if you have Lightroom and Photoshop. If we go over to see what we looked like before we started the edit, very boring, and now we've got a lot more of a moody edit here. If you found this video helpful, then please consider giving it a like and maybe even subscribing. And again, this editing style isn't for everyone, but a lot of people want to try out that low-key look. So if you do try this for yourself and you post it on your social media, then make sure you tag me and I'll make sure to check it out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.